that any inappropriate remarks or jokes concerning security may result in your arrest. We appreciate your cooperation while these measures are in effect.
That's right. If you go to INFOWARS.com, you can read the story by Paul Joseph Watson. TSA loudspeakers threatens travelers with arrest for joking. So if you criticize them or if you say, hey, don't touch my junk, there's no reason to arrest you. They're going to claim disorderly conduct or that you basically pose a security threat. And it's all pure intimidation. Law states they can do nothing to you. The problem is behind closed doors, they may beat your brains out. It's on record that at a lot of airports, folks that have been handed over to the police have ended up hanging themselves when their handcuffs were cuffed behind their back. It's on record that at a lot of airports, folks that have been handed over to the police have ended up hanging themselves when their handcuffs were cuffed behind their back. So it's a very, very serious situation. And it just shows how, hey, your First Amendment's dead. So now they have TSA checkpoints on the highways. If I criticize those, will I be arrested? Because we're such a land of the free, home of the brave. But hey, at least in the new land of the free, home of the brave, I have Obamacare.
We got to get to this because this is a big story out of D.C. this morning. The Million Vet March underway. At this hour, veterans outraged by the way they're being treated by Washington during the government shutdown are gathering across the country right now.
And our Peter Ducey is live at the World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. And Peter, things are heating up behind you, huh?
Yeah, Anna, you look behind me, there are definitely a lot more people here than there were earlier in the morning, and they're still coming, definitely at least a few hundred. And something else that's different from the last time that, from my last live report last hour, all those metal barricades that were around the entire complex, around the entire memorial, are now gone. Some of the people here, the marchers, the protesters, showed up. They cut the metal ties that were keeping the barricades together. They lifted them over their heads two at a time and threw them down. It was a loud scene. They threw them all down in a big pile. They're now just lying in a heap on the corner outside of the memorial. We have talked to a lot of people here. It seems like folks have come from across the country for this event, and they're all telling us the same kind of thing, like this.
All vets have been fed up with what's going on. So I think at time we're standing up, right, Grant?
Absolutely.
To make a difference.
When you start talking about denying survivors benefits, when you start looking at all the things that have happened, we're retired, we can speak up. You know, there are those that are serving right now, they can't speak up.
And a little bit earlier, we also saw the man who became kind of famous this week for mowing the lawn outside the Lincoln Memorial. He was here leaf blowing the sidewalks. I asked him what he was doing. He said that he's been told he can't have a mower or a chainsaw, but nobody ever told him anything about a leaf blower. So he was trying to clean things up, and he said he's going to be here after everybody is gone, because since the government is shut down, there's not anybody else to come and clean up. So that's what the scene is here, but also the organizers, as I mentioned earlier, want folks across the country to go to their local war memorials and monuments to have a scene like this recreated in as many places as possible today.
I'll tell you
Back
what,
to New York.
13 days, thank you, Peter. 13 days into this, that's the best video that describes the way we're all feeling, I think. Picking up the barricades and tossing them in.
Veterans picking up the barricades and throwing them down. We're hearing from veterans this morning writing in, outraged about their benefits may be cut on the 1st of the month, or the veterans' benefits that come in might be able to pay their mortgage on their house, take care of other loved ones in their family. These are veterans who serve this country, and checks may stop if the government continues to be shut down by the 1st of this month.
Even if they get them later, how does that help them in the here and now? Right. We spoke earlier this morning with a former helicopter pilot, and she's outraged about the whole thing, and so are a lot of you. We're going to share some tweets for you now. This one from Todd. He says, I'll be a vet who will lose everything on the 1st. I have 6 horses, 4 dogs, and a mom that I care for.
John writes us this morning. He says, the denial of benefits debacle this week is just another sad chapter in the continuing betrayal by Congress of the promises made to countless veterans across America.
And Steve, I am a 100% service-connected disabled vet who counts on disability checks to raise my kids. What do I tell them when a check is not given to their dad? Sorry, girls, but my sacrifice for this country is worth nothing to our president.
Right, and some people saying, hey, look, you know, this is for some of these active duty individuals, this is, or people who aren't getting a paycheck yet. I saw a couple of tweets come in on this yesterday that said, look, you know, this is consider it paid vacation, to which I say, that implies you're being paid right now.
Right.
And you're not. In fact, some of these people are having to take out small loans to support their family currently, and they, with the chance that they may get a paycheck a month from now, we don't know.
Well, the negotiations started yesterday, it looked like they were maybe going to get something done, but we're kind of back to square one now this morning. You remember Senate Democrats, they're rejecting a proposal that Maine Republican Senator Susan Collins had come up with, and essentially it would fund the government for, let's see, for 6 months, right? Mm-hmm. And then the debt ceiling was going to be increased through January. But really a sticking point there for Harry Reid was that the 2-year delay on Obamacare's medical device tax. He said, you know what, we're not going to compromise and we're not going to negotiate on this.
Yeah, and then also would require verification for Obamacare subsidies as well. We had some folks on the show early this morning talk about it. We had Louis Gomer, who says this is just another key example that Obamacare is still the focus. Take a listen.
We have made offer after offer after offer and we have voted for compromise after compromise after compromise. Harry Reid saying that there's a bunch of firebrands and radicals in the House that have hijacked the party. That's not the case. We are together, but the hijacking has been the U.S. Senate by left-wing radicals who want to keep spending grandchildren's money without any consequences.
Of course, the Democrats say it's the right-wing people in Congress, you know, the Tea Party folks that have caused this entire thing. So it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, Harry Reid saying that's what our job is to do, is to keep the government open, but you guys wanted to close it down. So that's what Louis Gomer responding to there. So more on this morning as those veterans begin to march, not only in Washington, but across this country. We'll have
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a radio listener, we are rolling footage from NBC News Local in the District of Criminals with what looks like about a 75-year-old vet with others being attacked with a baton by riot police dressed up in bright blue UN-style uniforms. And I've got to say, these riot police literally look like something you'd expect from a UN army. They look like a bunch of social workers in combat gear, but UN blue. It is amazing. And I've been watching the live feeds. We're adding them all to INFOWARS.com right now. INFOWARS.com has a lot of the feeds. DrudgeReport.com has a lot of the feeds. And we're trying to condense them all down to INFOWARS.com with my Skeleton Sunday crew, who's doing a great job trying to get it all together. But actor James Woods tweeted, and we retweeted it at Real Alex Jones, that thank God for the riot police to deal with 85-year-old World War II vets in wheelchairs. Thank God for them protecting us. What would we do without them, to paraphrase his tweet. And now Kit Daniels is posting, the video is posted in his article, Breaking Riot Police Confront Veterans as They Liberate Memorials, or Veterans Remind Americans How to Resist Tyranny. But Kit's doing a whole separate article right now. This just broke 10 minutes ago. This is happening now, as riot police came up to vets and told them to get out of the area. When they wouldn't, they start ramming them with the batons. And then the 75-year-old vet, I'd say that's his age, actually attacks back and shoves the UN-type police back, and then start cowering in fear. It's amazing. They go up and start fights, and then I guess they've never had anybody push back against them, and so they flip out. This is incredible. We're going to be covering that. This morning, we began to post the articles on PrisonPlanet.com, on INFOWARS.com. Paul Watson, Kit Daniels, Kurt Nemo, myself, again, posting articles and videos of the vets showing up by the tens of thousands in different areas of D.C. It wasn't very coordinated, which is good, because it's organic. And they were just everywhere, tearing down the wired shut barricades, tearing them down, removing them, piling them up in big, neat stacks. And then they said, let's march on the White House and go protest there. No one is allowed to protest around the White House. It's a free speech zone area where it's not allowed. You know, the free speech zone is where none of the cameras are at. So I say that sarcastically when I call it a free speech zone. It's a non-free speech zone. And so the vets show up, and they're there going to protest, and the police come in to try to move them back. There's other videos showing them trying to put up barricades around the gates, around the White House, and shoving on veterans when they come up to talk to them. So it's a pretty serious situation. And I'm telling you, all it's going to take is some of these Fed goons to start beating up veterans, and then you won't see tens of thousands of Oath Keepers there. And by the way, that's mainly who's there. You won't see that. In fact, it shows veterans marching with pieces of gates that they've taken, barricades that they've taken, I guess, as spoils of victory against the tyrants. And people could say, oh, big deal. This is how it began in Romania against Ceausescu. And you began to have veterans and other people protesting against the dictator in Romania. And then as soon as they started abusing and shooting people, hundreds of thousands showed up when there'd only been hundreds at first. And then they started shooting at them, so hundreds of thousands more showed up, and then the police just stood down, and the military stood down, and hours later, you know what happened to Ceausescu. I don't want that to happen to Puppet Obama, because that'll turn him into a hero. I want him to be held accountable for all the treason against this republic. When we come back, all the big news. And then in the second hour today, we're going to talk about the missing nuclear weapons from Dyess Air Force Base, and the #1 nuke general and #2 nuke general who've now been fired, along with 2 other generals that now we learned got fired with almost no media coverage.
Are you serious? The food stamp debit card didn't work in 17 states across America yesterday, this whole weekend. There are millions of families that are severely depending upon being able to go to the store with their debit card, their EBIT card, for their food stamps. I mean, we're talking families and small children. Are you serious? How can the government become so incompetent? So incompetent. Not only does the Obamacare website not work, now all of a sudden the food stamp cards don't work. And they say, oh, no, it's not because of the government shutdown. No, it's a glitch in the system. A glitch shuts down 17 states across America? Are you serious? You think we're buying that? I got some oceanfront property in Arizona. Is that one of the states? Is that one of the states? You know what? I'm going to go through that tonight. We're going to talk about what is going on. Are they trying to implement the microchip system? I'm just asking. Are they trying to make the people so frustrated that then they'll come out with a brand new system that won't have glitches, called the little mark in your right hand or in your forehead? Did I read that in Revelation? What? Throw a little blasphemy in there, a little damnation, and you're going to hell. Is that what's going on? Are they setting this thing up? Is the system? Can we talk about tonight? Don't miss my show from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern. Also, in Syria, 7 Red Cross workers kidnapped. Thank you, Nick of New York. Reverend Gary, Typhoon Phelan comes ashore in India. 17 dead. 17 states don't have food stamps. 17 dead in India. What else is going on? Are you serious? Earthquakes. Swarms of earthquakes. Folks, are you serious? I want to thank Troy of North Carolina. I want to thank Marner Campbell for the food stamp glitches. Reverend Gary, Nick of New York. And also, let me just say this. Truck drivers' rolling protest was not very effective. That is the truth. Not very effective. But the veterans were, as they demanded that their monuments be opened. Both of them sent a message. Both of them got the message through. We're going to wait and see how the government officials react. Why do we have to have these issues? Are you serious? Are we living in the last days? Let me give you some good news. Well, our 3-day revival at Community Gospel Baptist Church was so powerful. People were healed of back conditions and heart conditions and different situations. It was unbelievable. Tremendous strong anointing. We baptized 10 people today. I baptized 10 today, and we had 3 give their life to Jesus Christ this morning. What? Something biblical is going on, because when you see all these signs around you, know that you're in the end times, and there's also a great harvest So even though there is all this confusion and there's wars and rumors of wars and nation rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom and there's famine and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places, and all of these are the beginning of sorrows. But he told us to look up. You know, at one point, he said, just lift up your head, for your redemption is drawing nigh. We had people come from Mississippi, from Missouri, from Virginia, from Kentucky, all across, several from Illinois, all across Indiana. Oh, wow, I'm going to forget somebody. I mean, they came from everywhere. We had a tremendous time in the Lord, and I tell you what, we love everybody. So please thank the Lord for what he's doing in our lives.
I saw new images Saturday night. Red from BP Earth Watch. Almost looks like the dragon chasing the ball. The star. Look at that. Wow. Wow. Chinese red dragon. Yep. I might cut this up and insert that Chinese red dragon again. That is so cool. That's what they saw thousands of years ago. Look at that. Stuff like that. It really looks like it. Heads up. October, I believe that's October 12th, 2013. That's what it looks like. Going into October 13th.
October 13th, 2013. Guys, we're looking at the Eastern Pacific on the satellite image. We've got a Category 4 typhoon. It's the same as a Category 4 hurricane. It's got wind gusts up to 160 miles an hour, wind speeds at 135. Notice it's today's date. The track of this concerns me because we've seen a couple smaller storms come over Fukushima this year. But this one is larger. Now, it's going into cooler waters before it gets into Japan, and it may weaken some. But right now, it's a Category 4. You can see one going into Thailand. That's a Cat 2 right now. The Cat 4 is going to curve. It's going to go north. It's going to skate off the coast of Russia, go south of the Aleutian Islands. And the remnants of it will come into the Canada and the northwest USA. From California all the way up the coast there. And it's important because the headlines of Fukushima are not good on the amount of leaking radiation. These images are polar satellite images, and these are infrared. If I went back 48 hours, there's Japan. There's that tropical depression, and you see the track, guys, that came right over the Aleutian Islands and ended up down in through the northwestern United States and across the middle of the United States and swept out across the Great Lakes. That picked up the radiation that was there at this time. But this Cat 4, it has a double problem. Not only the radiation field that it's going to pick up both water and air and move our way, but the infrastructure there is so damaged that this could go ahead and just about wipe it out, guys. It depends on how strong it gets between now and then. Check that out. This is in changing it into infrared. Again, you can see as it starts. This is a storm that came in from 48 hours ago. It goes up to current time, and it tracked right over Fukushima, across Kamchatka, Russia, across the Aleutians. They're calling it Typhoon Wiffle, guys. It's a 135 mile an hour wind speed with gusts up to 160. Notice the timestamp. This was at 1 p.m. today's sync. Here's the headlines from Fukushima today. Doctors warn about radioactive substances from Fukushima coming to West Coast in 2014. As it's just a few months away, consider keeping kids away from the beach, perhaps pregnant women. This is not putting into account this hurricane. Fukushima radiation worse than feared government and TEPCO cover-ups. Worst case scenario at Fukushima now is that the nuclear rods have melted and went through the reactor floors. Contamination is impacting the rest of the world. Likely the entire Pacific will be affected. All of Japan at risk of food and water having serious contamination from Fukushima now and into the future. Land is contaminated up to 250 kilometers from the plant, guys. The doctors in California are concerned about eating the fish. That's been going on for several months. I wouldn't touch one if I were you. Surging radiation levels in sea around Fukushima plant. High-density strontium. Here we go into radiation levels 100 times higher than Fukushima reported 50 days after the quake. Geiger counter off the scale at the train station 60 kilometers from the plant. Now guys, here's the latest ISON images. This is a close-up on them. It's still showing the 8 objects, and I'm not counting the smallest one in the back. Now also, if you'll notice on the outer edges of the coma, it's showing, it's just like on an airplane wing when you see that airflow across it. If there's something wrong with that wing, you're going to see that disturbance. And we're getting that around each object inside this coma. Now, a lot of people think that this object is intact. It's not, but you see that glare? That's what you normally see. And if you're not able to have use the right software to break that down, you can't do it. It will look like one solid teardrop on hundreds of images. But again, it takes work. You've got to go inside this and take a look at it. Again, it's got a lot to do with your exposure and your temperature. Take a look at this as we go through it. Now, in this particular image, it looks like to me that we're still getting the side jetting from the objects that are near to the edge of the coma, on the inside coma. See that? And we were seeing it a few days ago on the 2 side objects. Now that main object in the middle is a concern to me because it's not there. Is the comet is it breaking apart? Remember in the video last night off to the right, it seemed like there was something that either moved out of the main coma, it had broken a part of it. Wasn't sure about that, but there's not that main central object between the 2 that we normally see in the front. You'll see the 2 objects there. The main section of it in the center that's not showing. We're seeing that front section. Now here, as I zoom this up, this is a different image, both from earlier tonight, last night. Let me pull this up. Breaking this down, you can still see multiple objects even at this view if you look at this close enough. It's a heads up. We're going to watch it as it comes in. We still need one space-based picture to update with.
Live, this is One for the Record. I'm Diana, and today is October 14th, 2013, and here are your news updates for today. Wow, okay, let's see what's going on. I'm attaching a lot of stuff tonight. A lot of stuff, so be ready for that, okay? The Watchers watching the world. Elemental Iceland stunning time-lapse video by Stiandikal. Massive 7.2 earthquakes hits Mindanao, Philippines. Heads up. I don't know, every night he barks and sees something out there. Major earthquake would collapse over 1,000 buildings in LA. Wow. That's the only new thing. Okay. E&E News, the energy news. Fukushima, Japan. Today, no glasses. Stop! Please stop! We'll go bye-bye in a little bit, okay? I just got home. It's madness. Doctors in Japan helping perpetuate Fukushima cover-up. Patients not being told their illnesses are from exposure to radiation contamination. Scientific reports showing radiation health damage to humans are forbidden to be published. Also today, chaos at Fukushima. It is too late for the world to help. Asahi plant workers wearing radioactive underwear. Health concerns blamed for recent failures. Also today, state of emergency should now be declared throughout world community over Fukushima. Nuclear expert molten corium related leaks into ocean have never stopped. Let's see if they say anything U.S. Canada. NPR, starfish epidemic, moving fast, turning into goo in Washington, not just Canada. Virus, bacteria, or something else entirely? Will it spread to other sea life in other parts, West Coast? Obviously, I think it's from the radiation. That's my own opinion. Okay. That's all that's new. It's about the starfish starting to melt all over the place on the West Coast. Alrighty then. It's Columbus Day. Happy Columbus Day. It's one day down. 4 to go before the weekend. It's a short week this week. And I'll see you again tomorrow on the flip side. Take care. Be prepared for anything. Stay tuned. Lots of news. Also, I'm attaching Jrliberty, and it's not. I can't get onto Dr. Deagle right now, so I did the next best thing, and you'll just hear it without Dr. Deagle. Alright, take care, and just be safe, and I'll see you again tomorrow on the flip side. Calm down, Max. Max, leave your ear alone. Alrighty then, take care.
No outbreak. Federal government threatens to shut down 3 salmonella-linked chicken plants. And last but not least, tainted guinea pig meat caused salmonella outbreak. We do have patiently waiting to greet him, our friend Ann Morrison. Ann is a scientist. Ann is an engineer. She pays very careful attention to the things that we're concerned about. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning, John. Well, speaking of government entities, you know, the USDA.
Tainted guinea pig meat? Who's eating guinea pigs?
But they can't do anything about it because they have too many people on furlough because of the government shutdown. And in addition, I just found out that the NRC, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, is planning a shutdown. They've been using carryover money. They don't have an appropriation of funds yet for this year, this was written on October 4th, so that was a week ago, and they have already furloughed some of their employees. They are only keeping those that are essential, and it is illegal for employees who are furloughed to perform agency work. So they're not going to be not keeping an eye on the nation's 100 commercial nuclear power plants.
I got a question for you, Ann.
Yeah.
You know, the federal government is not supposed to be a place of just giving jobs out just willy-nilly just for the fun of it. If you're not essential, why are you there in the first place?
Well, I guess speaking in the way Bill Clinton would, it depends on what the definition of essential is. I mean, I couldn't believe that the Capitol Police weren't essential. Well, come to find out, they are essential, but they're not. They were still furloughed. You know, when they interrupted that woman who was trying to see Obama.
Is that what she was trying to do?
Apparently, yeah, and she thought that Obama had put in listening devices and was trying to reach her, and so she got in her car and she went over there, and she, you know, her first stop was at the White House, and she actually got out of the car and, you know, tried to get into the White House, and of course the Capitol Police told her she couldn't, and so then she rammed her way out of that, and they started firing. They got the permission to fire, and she went down Pennsylvania Avenue to the Capitol.
At 80 miles an hour, I understand.
Well, she was disturbed, and apparently she hadn't been taking her medicine. She had been, you know, the schizophrenia patients, they have to take their medicine, but once they get to feeling better, they stop taking it because they're feeling better.
Right, right.
And now they're starting a new way of making sure they take it. They have to go into a clinic, and they have to be observed taking their medicine.
Right.
But with the furlough, that probably isn't happening either. So we may have more of these incidents.
Well, and just keep in mind, and I talk about this occasionally again, if the grid goes down, all these psychotropic medications will not be delivered to the local pharmacy. It would be, what do you think the percentage is? This may be a Deagle question of American adults that take psychotropic drugs every day of the week.
Well, yeah, I would say on the under 20 crowd, probably maybe 10%. Between 20 and 50, I'd say probably 40%. Above 50, I'd say probably 60.
This show is from 10/11/2013, so I'm not sure about what she's saying about the D.C. shooting. And the other thing that they're talking about, okay, is all the psychotropic drug stuff. Now, what happens when all the alcohol, the beer, just think about it, all the beer and whatever other alcohol and cigarettes stop? There's going to be a lot of angry people with nicotine fits and DTs out there, I think. On top of everything else. Okay, let's continue.
Drugs or psychotropic drugs?
Psychotropic drugs. Well,
60%? That's more than half the people. That's 6 out of 10.
Well, you got to keep the anxiety level down when the government stops.
We all need to be happy, don't we?
We all have to be happy, because
I thought, and I want your feedback on this. There was a song that was really popular back in the 80s. Don't worry, be happy.
Don't worry, be happy.
Maybe I was thinking about using that for bumper music. What do you think?
If you can get permission to do that.
Oh, if you can play 20 seconds on anything, it don't matter.
Oh, okay.
10 seconds. Typically, bumper music around 10 to 15 seconds.
Well, anyway, this is very disturbing news that the NRC is going to shut down, and nobody's going to keep an eye on the nation's 100 commercial nuclear power plants.
Well,
And
the people that own these power plants certainly have a very serious vested interest to make sure nothing goes bad, don't they?
well, I wouldn't say so. I mean, they have an interest, but they're more interested in the dollars coming in from the electricity.
Well, that's true, but if the plant blows up, the dollar stop. We got a break. Phone number is 800-313-9444. Sitting with Ms. Ann Morrison, and let's just jump right back in there.
Well, I did want to mention that the Malibu high school teachers are claiming that the school is making them sick, causing cancer. So I was thinking about this, and Malibu is on the West Coast. In fact, it's right on the West Coast, and it's above Los Angeles. And they say about a third of the staff has an outbreak of cancers. Well, you don't get an outbreak of cancers unless there's
A serious environmental
unusual. Yes.
Right.
And so they've hired some environmental consultants for the source of the skin diseases, the thyroid cancers. Now, some of the kids have been affected too, and one person, well, they do have been treated for persistent migraines, and other teachers have been treated for unexplainable hair loss, skin rashes, bladder cancer, and
Sounds like radiation to me.
And several respiratory illnesses. Well, I wanted to think about it, and it sounds like radiation. And then I thought, well, could it be the UV band, see, the ultraviolet light that's coming in and affecting them especially for the loss of hair? Because we have had strong ultraviolet band C coming down to ground level. But I think thyroid cancer indicates radiation. And we know that the plume that came out of Fukushima crossed the Pacific Ocean and went up the coast from California, and Malibu would have been about the first place that it would have hit.
Right.
And then it went up the west coast, and then it crossed and turned east and went across the upper tier of states through Chicago and into New York. So the people that were living there where it first hit got the strongest dose, because that's where the air would have started migrating upward, so there would have been more reason for the particles to drop out of it. So they don't mention in here, by the way, they don't mention radiation as a possible source. I mean, you hear thyroid cancer, and you and I mean, you just jumped right on it.
Right.
It sounds like radiation. And I would say that it sounds like radiation. In fact, over on, there's some Russians in Japan, near the Fukushima prefecture, and they are studying the incidents, and they have a laboratory. It's the first, and it's a mobile laboratory for thyroid cancer detection. And they found thyroid cancer in more than 40 children.
Right.
Now, the Japanese said that they don't think it came from the radiation that was emitted by Fukushima.
Of course.
So the Japanese made a trip to Belarus to consult their local specialist. So, thyroid cancer could be an indicator of, well, at least over there, the Belarusians seem to think that it's an indicator of cancer. They're still studying the 20 bluefin tuna caught off of California, and they have detected low levels of radioactive cesium. And so cesium is one of those chemicals that will be sent up the food chain,
right,
and end up in humans. It is also an indicator of strontium. If you look at a graph of those isotopes that are emitted during a fission reaction, cesium and strontium are about equal. So if you measure the amount of cesium, you can deduce that there's probably that much radioactive strontium.
Right.
And the strontium will go to the bones and to the muscle. And of course, we don't eat the bones, but the bluefin tuna eat the bones because they eat the smaller fish.
Right.
And then they eat the even smaller fish. So it accumulates. You know, when they eat it, it doesn't all go to the bone just because it was in the bone of the smaller fish. It can go any place into the bluefin tuna, and some of it will end up in the muscles. And by the way, the heart in the body is a muscle. And
Of course it is. Yes.
And so it is also affected by strontium. And people who are having heart problems should expect that their physician will ask them, well, let's measure the amount of strontium in your bones or in your muscles. But I've never heard of a physician doing that.
I haven't either. And we got a regular caller here, Glenn from Philadelphia. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Ann. You guys have been talking about the psych drugs. Minor correction. It's psychotropic. It's a P, not an F sound. It's not a PH. It's just a P. So it's psychotropic drugs. But I think it's about 10% of the population now or just with SSRIs alone. That's not even, I think, looking in the other classes. It's a number I keep hearing banding about with that. And it's like, so there's so many psych drugs in the sewage. You know, so many people are excreting all these drugs. It's a huge problem for, processing the water and stuff like that. But you talked, John, about the lack of the availability of the drugs and the grid down situation. That points out, like prepping, like, can you imagine the black market situation for that, for anything that's going to, like, help people's nerves? I mean, everything from alcohol.
Tobacco will be the top of the list. Tobacco pretty quickly becomes a matter of ersatz money.
Yeah, exactly. Which is like you do cigarettes in a poker game, for crying out loud. You talk about a barter item. I mean, you'll be able to, buy some gasoline for yourself with packs of cigarettes. I mean, all the typical stuff you picture in back alley or prison yard card games or something,
Right. Well, the World War II movies where cigarettes were used as currency, so that's reality.
Yeah, and even like Benadryl, like sometimes they use, like in the psych hospital, they use antihistamines or Benadryl to take for anxiety and stuff like that. So even things as simple as dirt cheap Benadryl as an anxiolytic, could come into stuff like that. It's amazing. It's just kind of bizarre where that'll all go. It'll certainly be weird to see a population where 10% of the people are on SSRIs or a lot of other people on anxiolytics or things like that, all of a sudden deprived of those things. You think we're crazy now.
Glenn, what's your estimate of total percentage of all of these mood-altering drugs?
I'm sorry. I was thinking about that. I do not know. I
Okay.
do not know. But one thing I mentioned with Bill Frady the other day, I'm afraid the government's going to try and turn around and say, well, this is why you can't have guns, because you're all too crazy to have guns. If you want a gun, you have to prove you're sane. Instead of assuming you're sane, the assumption will be you're crazy, and if you can prove otherwise, then maybe they'll let you own a gun.
You can't prove a negative.
Yeah, exactly, precisely. All right, take care. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks for the call, Glenn. We got a break coming up here in less than 2 minutes, Ann. What do you want to talk about before the break?
Well, I do have some. There's that radiation plume that came across the northern Pacific Ocean. They're seeing hemorrhagic phenomena, signs of immunity deficiency in seals, and they think this has something to do with Japan's discharge of nuclear sewage or radioactive water. But they can't prove it. At this point, Japan is just dumping it into the sea. China has opposed the Japanese government's irresponsible activities, and South Korea is going to sue Japan. If we can link the hair loss and the thyroid cancers and the skin rashes, that's what caught my eye, and I thought, well, maybe it's UVC. Maybe it's a combination of both. And but in any case, there's an indication that they have been exposed to fission products, including cesium-137 and strontium-90. That means that the girls at the high school and probably all of the people in that area are why it's coming out at Malibu High School, I don't know. Maybe they didn't sweep their roofs. When I was working at a mixed waste site in St. Charles County, in St. Charles County, I complained because I thought the radiation that was in the air had probably landed on the roof of the building I was in, and then the air vent. I tracked down the air vent, and it was pretty close to where my QB was. So I asked them to check it. I didn't write a memo or anything. I didn't go to the project manager. I just asked the people that I worked with if they could check it, and sure enough, they sent a team up there. They never told me what the results were. They did come back and say, "Well, I was really." They're not. They were company men, company people.
Okay.
They weren't going to make any statement that could be used against them in a court of law.
Okay. We got a caller here, Ann. We got Mark from Philadelphia. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, John. I wanted to ask you, the word that I got the other day from your show on the Rewind about the Chinese troops staging in the area of the Midwest, maybe even Kansas City. I've gone down that rabbit hole. I'm trying to find verification on that. Also, I wanted to ask you about this FEMA 3 region, if there's anything to do with, if there's anything significant about that with the buildup. I think I had asked you that before, if you've heard anything more about that. And also, on the note of weather, this storm that's happening in the Dakotas, is that an indication of are we making a turn into a long period of cold weather, like extremely cold weather?
Well, there has been several scientists who believe we're at the very, very beginning parts of what's going to be an extended cold period, which could go into a mini ice age. And the mainstream weather forecasters are forecasting a tougher than winter than we've had for a while, this coming winter of 2013-14. As to the Chinese troops, I prepared a memorandum yesterday that I got to the Missouri National Guard and to the Missouri Militia to make sure that the right people are aware of it. I don't want to make assumptions that they already know about it, and they're going to do whatever they're going to do. I'm personally very satisfied since I've got two private sources that don't know each other, 500 miles apart, one at Wright-Patterson, one at Kansas City International, telling me the same thing. When I get that kind of confirmation from private sources that I'm in touch with, that's enough for me to take action, which I did.
So did they actually fly into KCI, or did they fly into Richard Square?
It was KCI, Kansas City International Airport, right.
So they had to be noticed, yeah, you would think.
They were noticed, and that's how I got the report. They were noticed. That's how I got the report.
So they flew on a cargo plane?
A C-17, right.
Oh, C-17, okay.
If you've ever seen one, these things are huge.
Is that the big one where the nose opens up?
No, that's a different one. The nose is, you're talking, you're thinking of C-5 Galaxy. That's the biggest airplane in our inventory. I got to fly in one of those. It's when you climb up the stairway to get in there, it's the equivalent of going up to the fifth floor window of a building.
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh, man, these things are huge. When I was at Bragg back in the late 60s, they had to make all the runways thicker at Pope Air Force Base to accommodate the weight of these aircraft.
The weight. So how many troops could they hold in one?
A C-5 Galaxy? Oh, probably 500 easily, yeah.
No, I mean the one you were talking about. You said
the C-17, probably 250, 300, something like that.
And there was, so do we know how many came in?
It doesn't matter. I'm not counting heads. And our sources, our source at Wright-Patterson was pulling an 8-hour shift. We don't know what happened before or after his shift. The point being that they're here and they're coming in.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so what about do you have any work on the FEMA 3 FEMA
There's nothing, that former senator from South Dakota pretty much told the story. I don't have any new updates on that, no, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I can tell you something about the weather.
Please. We got another caller, but go ahead, Ann.
Yeah, I'm looking at the jet stream. The jet stream runs about 30,000, 40,000 feet above us. And it is supposed to circle around the the northern hemisphere, the northern jet stream anyway is, and it has a low that is, it's making a circle on itself right over, I would say, Germany, France. In other words, there's a low, and it's in the jet stream, and it's an actual, you can see the circle. It's like you can see a hurricane with an eye in it. And I think that means that that there's going to be really severe weather over Europe or the European Union, especially if a surface low hooks up to it. And that thing doesn't look like it's moving. It's not moving towards the east like it is in the jet stream in the United States is coming up from Southern California and going straight up through the Corn Belt. And then it loops around and then it goes out into the Atlantic. But this is a really strange phenomenon in the jet stream. As far as in the plains, the jet stream is driving that also. It's pushing the energy from the lows that are, in fact, we have a low coming in now in the Gulf of Alaska. And looks like it will dive down into Washington, Oregon, and then make its way to Southern California, across Arizona and New Mexico, and then head north towards Canada. And it's formidable.
Sounds like it. It sounds like it. And we got a call here I've been expecting. Tim from Connecticut. Good morning, Tim.
Morning, John. Good morning, Ann.
Hello, Tim.
All right. So where do I begin? I think we should go back a couple of weeks ago. I have a new contact, very high level. You know, this guy's in the know. Someone you described a few weeks back, you know, in the petroleum industry.
Right.
So this guy, he definitely knows a lot of very important people. A few weeks back, we discussed, well, you did on your show, you had mentioned it when previous to our phone call, or after our phone call. He had a startling statement that he made to me in the morning. He said that we're in a lot of trouble and things don't look good, and he was very not himself. And then we see that the government went into shutdown mode, what they call a shutdown mode. And I hadn't talked to him in a while, but a couple of days ago I was at his house again, and we sat down and we talked a bit, and I asked him, where do you think the government's going? What's going on? Do you think the shutdown's going to end? And he said, well, I think Obama's going to buckle. And he said, I guarantee it.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought, Tim. We'll get your rest of your report when we come back. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Taking steps to sanitize their to sanitize their operations. Also, they have wanted, consumer advocates have petitioned the USDA to change the way salmonella outbreaks in meat are handled. Because salmonella is so prevalent in poultry and is killed if consumers handle and cook it properly, the government has not declared it an adulterant or illegal in meat, such as E. coli. You know, that's when they stop. That's when they do the recalls, when E. coli. And so also outbreaks in salmonella in poultry can take longer to discover, so recalls don't happen as quickly, so they don't treat it the same. You know, they're just saying, cook the meat thoroughly and you won't have a problem. Then the USDA, of course, which oversees meat safely, does classify E. coli as illegal, but it doesn't classify salmonella as illegal. And the FDA oversees the safety of most other food and doesn't distinguish pathogens in food. Salmonella is treated seriously as any other contaminant. Anyway, they did put more inspectors. They recalled some of the furloughed inspectors, and they did tell them that they were going to have to shut down the plants. But it was mostly a bluff on the part of the USDA because they don't have a force to close them down. I mean, it would have had to go through the courts because of the furlough. Furloughed employees cannot work on government projects. They're
actually prohibited.
They're actually prohibited. Yeah, they can go to jail for doing that.
Right.
So the CDC had furloughed many of those who worked to investigate outbreaks, but and the CDC did recall some of those workers on Tuesday. Well, this is now Friday, and they're working on the salmonella outbreak. Nobody has died yet from this outbreak, but certainly somebody could. 45%, let's see, I've got it here someplace, 48% of the people who caught it ended up in the hospital. This is a huge number of people to end up in the hospital. And it's because some of the salmonella strains are multi-drug resistant, or what they call MDR, multi-drug resistant. And that means that they have to use older drugs to treat it, and when they use the older drugs, then you get heart and kidney failure and liver failure. So some of these people may end up on dialysis. This is not a contaminant. This is a serious illness, and especially since it's become multi-drug resistant. Now, where they don't have the inspectors out there to trace down the source. So if people do have a chicken, they need to. Well, I'd throw it out, but I wouldn't cook it if I knew it was diseased.
Right.
Yeah. Also, they're having recurrence of those fungal meningitis outbreaks. Remember the healthcare acquired illness where people were injected.
And we're out of time. We'll do some radio with Dr. Deagle later today.
All right. Thank you, John.
Well, thank you. That's it for the day. It's it for the week. Get your medical supplies, your medical equipment, your energy cleaner now while you can, your firearms, ammunition. Never, ever give up the guns. Be safe. Have a great weekend, and God bless America. Coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Thursday, the 10th day of October, year of our Lord 2013. Welcome to the John Moore Show. I'm getting some interesting responses from some people interested in helping me do marketing. This is a commission sales position to help John Moore get speaking engagements. There's details at my Facebook page, The John Moore Radio Show, if you're interested. We have an alert here from Sandeo's website. This goes down to Louisiana, DeSoto Parish Waterworks District Number 1. There are some deadly amoebas in there. They're going to be flushing out the system with chlorine the next 60 days. So if you or somebody you know lives in DeSoto Parish and gets their water from Water District Number 1, be advised, don't drink the water. Might be a good time to get a Berkey water filter. I do have those available at my website, at thelibertyman.com. I'm expecting that Tim Spencer may be calling in. I have not got word from the engineer that he has or not. Okay, thank you. We do have patiently waiting in the green room my friend Reverend Tim Spencer. Reverend Spencer is a husband, father, grandfather, rancher, driver of the U.S. Navy Submarine Corps, man about town, and proprietor of the excellent website ruralsurvival.info. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, John.
Well, if we're finally getting some normal fall weather for a while, we went from air conditioning to heat.